Hi, and welcome to Home Based Business Review with your host, me, Carl Douglas. I got something pretty interesting I want to share with you guys. It's about being an inventor, having an ideal and starting an ideal from scratch and growing it from there. My tonight guest, his name is Scott. Scott is an inventor, I say a visionary on building fireplaces. Scott, are you there?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I
And welcome.
appreciate that
Yeah,
generous word.
no problem, no
Um,
problem. Let's start off by
so-
asking you where did all this start? I know that this it did not just start on like most people say when you start a business to go from one, two, three, four, five, and then 10. You had a beginning.
oh,
Uh,
absolutely, yeah,
let's take that journey with you. Tell us a little bit more about that.
yeah. So to try to rewind back as far as I can without making it too in depth is I've always been someone that's creative. Back in school, I'd be the person that they would ask to draw something, right? And so I've always had that kind of that one aspect. That was the one thing about myself that I was confident in was my creativity. And I always kind of knew in my guts that it was going to be what would allow me to be successful. And, I come from a background that is unfortunate. So I'm kind of, like you said, building a business from scratch. I've literally used repurposed materials, recycled metal to build them into functional works of art that ends up being things that people are drawn to because they're functional and utilitarian, portable. And, I couldn't have ever really anticipated that I would have been making fire pits because I honestly never really was like, we did go to like camps and go camping here and there, but I was never like the biggest outdoorsman or anything. But what I've been quite passionate about is sacred geometry, and the shapes of my fire pits is really what I've like invested most of my energy in. And so to kind of get to how the fire pits came to conception was a welding art class while I was going to school for an Associate of Fine Arts degree at SFCC here in Spokane. And it I couldn't have planned it better. It was that was my final class there at SFCC, and prior to that, I had actually got a welding certificate at SCC, and so it kind of gave me the opportunity to mix my prior experience with my new experience. And the premise of the final project was to create a light and shadow sculpture. And so we were to use repurposed materials to create an object that we would then cast a light on to create a focal point, which was the shadow. And, one of the most valuable lessons that I learned from my time going to school for art was the value of the individual because, in a class where there's 10, 20 students all getting the exact same kind of methods to the madness, the same directions, but no one ever produces the same result. And that
Right.
was something that I found really fascinating. And so I thought to myself, seeing it's a light sculpture, how cool would it be for the light source to be fire? Because it's kind of our most primal source of fire, other than the sun. And seeing it's a sculpture, it might as well be kinetic. So kinetic fire sculpture are the words that ran through my mind. And so I legitimately wasn't even thinking of a fire pit. I was just thinking of a cool piece of kinetic sculpture.
Right.
And so I built the first prototype for a fire pit June of 2017 when I graduated. it sold so fast that it motivated me to make another one, and then that one sold, and I did that like 5 times over, and then I made five at a time, and I sold those five, and then I made 10 at a time, and then I sold those 10, and then that was just in like a 6 month period. And then the following year I made like another 20 to 30, and then the following year I made 40, and then this year I've made 80. And so I've built like over 230 fire pits now in the last 4.5 years, and the fire pits
By,
have evolved so much
by
now.
yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is get this the fire pits has been what's got me my traction. It's what's broke the ice for me, and like developing connections with people like yourself, like, so it's been really rewarding, honestly, just to be able to apply my artwork in it to kind of ring like a bell instantaneously. One of the main lessons I've learned since I've started doing this is that people are people, and no matter where you go, that's all that matters. And it doesn't matter if it's something as small as a little farmer's market or a Forbes under 30 type of event.
Excellent, Scott. That's where I was going next. Is you have simple and effective strategies that help you grow your business. Let's talk about that for a second because our audience are people who are just like you. They may have an idea, but they don't know what kind of actions they should start taking. Of course, everybody says start it, yes, but you had a strategy. Tell me about how was you able to sell 5, 10, 20, and 80 fire pits?
Well, so the most important thing is getting out there and interacting with people, shaking hands, looking people in the eye, and literally developing genuine connections with people. It sounds so kind of trite or obvious, but it literally is as simple as that. If you're not out there, no one else is gonna sell your idea for you
Word of
because
mouth.
they got their own ideas and their own dreams and aspirations. So if you're not out there pushing your own, then if you can't be sold on your own idea, who else would be?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you have word of mouth. Am I correct?
So honestly, it's interesting that you angle it in that way because I hear quite often from my customers like, "Oh, I got four more lined up for you," or something along that lines. And I've never had one actually pull through, not one.
No,
And so
no referral.
it's not necessarily word of mouth in my experience, and it's more just so. For example, they say in marketing it takes 7 times to interact with someone to build that rapport, that trust, where they will even make an exchange with you, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very seldom that you get someone to impulsively pull the trigger with you the first time they interact with you.
Yes.
And so that's why it's so important to be going to any opportunity that individual who has an idea, you got to get out there to your local little markets, any events that are relevant to your area of interest, and really kind of establish yourself as a beacon in that niche. And so, for example, something I hear often, you know, like early on, obviously, I'd mostly hear, "Oh, I've never seen anything like this," right? And I still hear that a lot. But I also now hear quite a bit is, "Oh, I saw these over there," or I met you over here," or "I remember, oh, it's great that you're still doing this," And so when people get that second and third and fourth interaction with you, they really can trust that you're a reliable source of just a professional business because you're not flaky and you're not like switching lanes all the time. It's like you're still selling fire pits. Look, they're even nicer than the last time I saw you. They're getting better every time. You know.
Yes. Well, I can't tell you truly just by seeing it myself. I was very drawn to the shape, okay, and the quality of your product. If I'm
Thank
going
you.
to have a fireplace, I want to make sure that it's going to hold up. I mean, you can buy a
Yeah.
fireplace here and there, but they're so thin. and before you know it, it's breaking. Something, the wheel falling off. Something's just not,
Yeah.
holding on. Your quality, the minute I touched it, I felt like, man, this is a Mercedes of a fireplace. I
That's
said,
crazy.
and I had to sit down. And you remember, I sat down to hear more about what you do. And and a lot of people know me, especially my audience. I don't endorse any product unless I check it out before I let you guys see anything. Um, I check it out, and I'm gonna put my stamp of approval behind Scott's product.
I
Right
appreciate you.
there on the ticker, it's this SS's website. You can go there, and you can take a look at it yourself. Also, you can go to Funnel Connection right here. Everybody knows that Funnel Connection. And go to the post. We made a post in our blog. It talks more about him. You see the videos there as well. And next thing that's coming, you can go in there and type in the name of his company, uh, and you'll be able to go right there from the directory to where Scott's at. I truly believe that you will not be sorry that you took a look at it. Even if you were just curious, you're gonna be, just sit back and go, "Where the heck is that's a fireplace, man? Look how solid it is." You will
That's
see
so
that
funny.
just
It's
by
funny.
looking
I
at
tell
the videos.
people that there's three ways you can look at my fire pits being solid. Because the first impression, like you said, when you grabbed it, you're like, "This is a solid fire pit," and then also the shapes are the platonic solids. They're the dice, and so they are solid fire pits. And then if you were to kind of look at it, kind of like a hippie, you'd be like, "Ah, that's a solid fire pit, man."
But but I went and looked at the videos, and I have to say, no, you have a solid looking fireplace, but it actually show you how it would look if he fires it up. No pun intended, but when he fires it up, it's
Right.
it's it's a beautiful thing. So so Scott, tell me, what is your plans right now? What you sold 200 something fireplaces. Tell me, what is your plan at this point? Where you see this going?
So the sky's the limit in terms of the potential of the idea of the fire pits and just applying artwork and mixing it with metal artwork and business and sacred geometry. It's kind of like this alchemical melting pot of possibility. It's honestly like I said, I would love to have these fire pits in every home, not necessarily every home, but every home that can is at that level. So basically, what I'm saying, it's hard to get in the faces of the decision makers and the people who are at a point in life where they're not worried about $1,000 because 6 out of 10 people don't have $1,000 for an emergency, let alone a fancy fire pit. So to get in front of those people who are busy, they got places to go, things to do, uh, and to be able to market and get in front of them because you don't see any commercials for a Lamborghini, you don't see any commercials for a lot of like luxury items, but they're
Yes,
obviously majorly successful businesses.
yes,
So that's kind of where I see myself going is marketing to the right demographic, and most importantly, and then further in that, just kind of expanding into the different possibilities such as lighting, decor, and just like kinetic sculpture, water, like kinetic sculpture where it's spinning with the power of like a water pump, just kind of like a water fountain. And like there's so many different directions you could take just applying the sacred geometry in the metal. But more specifically with the fire pits, uh, in recent and like close kind of parameters, like a few weeks ago when I was exhibiting kind of like I was when I met you at up at the women's club, someone came across me who works at a local distributor, and he showed my work with his boss, and his boss, said that I could get his information. So I called him, and in my head I was thinking, man, how cool would that be to sell my first order of 100 fire pits? And I got on the phone with him, and he was very nice. He wasn't rude at all about it. But when I said that, he's like, to just to be blunt with you, I'm more interested in like 1,000 fire pits. My vendors are trying to do numbers in upwards of $1 million because, to be blunt, they don't care what the product is. All they want to hear is this is going to make you a lot of money. And
Right.
at the end of the day, that's understandable. So at basically what I'm saying is trying to kind of create this trinity of a win-win-win where me, I have the ideas, the drive of like, and then someone like that who has the ability to distribute, and then the person that has the infrastructure already to manufacture. And that's who also recently reached out to me. There's a company in Virginia who's on that scale where they could produce a lot. You know, they have robotic welders and $1 million laser machines. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of funny how things unravel because when I talked to the big man who's talking about ordering 1,000 fire pits, initially he said that currently it's a no doing business with me because of where I'm at. But 2 days later, a manufacturer reaches out to me and says, "Well, I'd like to help you out." And he had no idea about that opportunity. Now I got to do some follow up game with that guy and see if I could kind of create this trinity, this relationship where there's meat on the bone for everybody. You manufacture, I bring in sales, and or not necessarily. I even bring in sales at that point because the ideally the person who would be the distributor would distribute them to the vendors that then sell them.
Right.
So just trying to restructure and re-strategize and just take the business to the next level. It's funny how like just writing things down and creating goals works. It sounds so like simple, but it works. It really does.
Yes. Well, you know, when you deal with patent, we talked about that, and I'm sure you have a patent that you're working on as we speak. Very
Yep.
important to protect yourself, especially when you get the big box companies and distributors involved, and they see something that's hot. They can take your idea and sell it to somebody else without even billing it. Okay.
Right. Right.
It
Exactly.
doesn't. When they see something that's hot, that's going to be hot, they visualize because they know their clients, they know their customers, and
Yeah.
you're right, they do have the connections, and that's how ideas are stolen. Um, and then at the same time, they can get you, like, oh, we want 1,000 orders, but if you don't have the money to make 1,000 orders, you get that purchase order, you go to the bank, and you get a letter stating that the bank wants to show we'll go ahead and put this in escrow and until you know it's a promise that they're going to purchase this once you complete it, as long as it's first quality, everything that they ordered, then the banks are
Yeah.
going to release the funds. But you still got to operate uh, like you got a third party who's going to manufacture the product. You got to
Right.
remember that sometimes they want their money up front, or some of it
Yeah.
up front.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do,
Yeah. Because you got to pay for the metal.
yeah, you don't want to do is get out and get too many fingers and hands involved, and then court papers coming because somebody's not doing what they promised they're going to do. And and I know
Right.
these things because I've been doing this for some time, and I think that what everybody needs when they have somebody saying, "Oh, I want 1,000 orders," you need a business attorney that's going to sit there and put the
Yeah.
paperwork for you together. But right now, you're at a level where you can handle the manufacturer. Tell me, how long would it make you? How long would it take you to make five of them if you
Five
had?
fibrants.
Yeah, how long would it take you personally to make five fireplaces?
I could make that in a week, no problem.
Okay, so can you stretch 10 in a week, or would you say seven would be more comfortable?
So if if the pressure was really on, you know what I mean? I could totally make 10 in a week. What makes it hard to produce so many in a given week is organizing the materials, getting the
Yeah,
amount of materials all in one spot. But
that's
yeah, if you just had all the materials in and already there,
yes.
I could totally produce that many. Yeah.
Okay, because what I'm thinking about on top of my head is keeping things under control between one or two parties.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're gonna need the capital. Okay, to take, say, maybe, okay, if you're doing 10, 10, 20, that's 40 orders a month. You still need the capital to buy the material, and you're still gonna need.
So like here's how that works
Go ahead.
currently. Um, so say in October, it was my best month yet, right?
Mhm.
And the second weekend, it was the 16th and the 17th of October. I sold about $10,000 worth of fire pits, right?
And
And
how many orders was that?
that was 5 fire pits. That was one fire pit that with a set of 3 chairs that was already there and made and able to be claimed. And then it was 4 fire pits that were like custom ordered, all with their own custom panels. And 3 of those 4 orders had a set of 3 chairs with them. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
then that Friday prior, I had shipped one off through a TikTok sale.
Well,
And
TikTok sale. That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
and so TikTok is actually how I've shipped fire pits into 17 different states so far.
Wow.
Um, um,
And you handle shipping,
but
right? Just out of curiosity for the my.
yeah, there's a great local place here in Spokane called Action Shipping Depot. I take my work there, and he gets me better rates, including the packaging, than anywhere that I've found. So
Okay.
it's
Excellent.
good. So I've shipped all the way to Maine and Florida and all kinds of places in between.
Okay.
Um,
Well, let me
But so
go ahead.
what I was trying to say is currently how it works is someone buys a fire pit. They often just outright pay for it right then. They if say it's $1,000 fire pit, it's a custom fire pit. They want custom panels on it. It's a standard duty fire pit. All right, they pay $1,000. That's called the OPM, other people's money. You take those people's money and you go build the fire pit. You know what I mean? And uh, that's how it works. That's how I do it. I don't build a fire pit until someone orders one, you know? And so someone I don't make someone's fire pit without them buying it.
Okay.
Like I don't receive an order without receiving money. And so and then if someone's not comfortable with outright paying in full, then they'll pay half down. And so that
Okay.
at least allows me to go pay for the materials and a little bit of breathing room in between. And so and then after I deliver it or after it's finished, then I get the second half.
Well, you know what? I would love to hear more about what you have to say in the construction of how you order and so on for. But I want to conclude our conversation
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for the listeners because I know there's going to be questions. Now, right now in the ticket, this is how they can uh, get a hold of you or get a hold of myself, which is our company, Funnels Connection, and talk more about maybe they have a business, maybe they have a franchise, maybe they have a branched out business, wherever it is. I have to say, contact me or Scott right here. Look in the description and you can get more information. If you're seeing this and you're on our live broadcast, which is coming from our TV station, you can still get a hold of me and I can introduce you to Scott and so on. We're not talking about prices here. You may hear us mention $1,000, but sometimes custom products cost more. So we don't want to hold just $1,000 to our clients here. Uh,
Right.
but but the lesson here to be learned is he's
I'm just
giving
using
you,
square numbers to make it easy for
yeah,
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, basic numbers. But the lesson to be learned here, if you're thinking about starting your own business, okay, Scott is giving you his take on how he was able to amplify his orders. Okay,
Right.
so that's number
So
one.
like I'll really clarify on that. And that's literally how I survived the whole coronavirus contraction was by instead of spending all my time and energy trying to build as many fire pits I could, I spent all my time and energy showing up to as many places as I could with one fire pit, and then I get the orders, and then I go build the fire pit. So that's putting the horse before the cart, getting the sale before the manufacturing. You market before you produce, and it's just kind of putting the ducks in a row in the right order.
Excellent. Scott, before we conclude today, do you have anything that you would like to say to our audience? Those people are sitting there saying, man, that sounds incredible. But I haven't took my ideal and put it out there. What kind of advice would you give that individual?
I would say just be honest with yourself and ask if it's something that you really are passionate about and something that you really enjoy. Because if it's something that you're doing for the dollar, then it's not going to work. It simply won't. And that's just my experience. Because if I was doing it for the dollar, I'd be working for somebody. And I'm doing what I do for the sake of it, in terms of the feeling I get in my guts when I don't have to wake up, when I don't want to wake up and go somewhere I don't want to go and do things that I don't want to do. I'm able to invest in the day with how I find most valuable, and there's not really a price that you could pay for that. And it's the freedom, the sovereignty, the liberty. It's the typical, in quotations, American dream, and it's alive. And if you're willing to endure and make the sacrifices, it's completely possible. You just got to be um, willing to make some, what they call that, financial haircut at first. And so if you're not willing to make less for the first, until it works, you know.
Well, Scott, I'm gonna tell you that's some real good advice, and I got to say I met you, and I was really impressed with your passion, your energy. That was another thing that drew me to not just product, but to you because it's you who has the product. It's you who creates the product, and I got to say that I see much in your future when it
I
comes down
appreciate
to
it.
this. But for right now, those of you who are watching this, thank you for listening and watching up to this point. Scott, custom fireplace marketer, my friend, we're going to invite you back. And those of you who want to know where to get Scott, right here in the ticker, it tells you where to go, solidfirepit.com, and take a look at his videos, and also go to funnelsconnection.com in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. Once again, Scott, thank you for coming. We'll see you very soon.
Hey, awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you. And just to clarify, it's plural, solidfirepits.com. And yeah, again, thank you so much. It was nice meeting you, and I look forward to reeling in some stuff.
All right, sounds good. Bye for
All
now.
right. Have a good day.